I had originally said I wasn't going to do a video review of this particular rose, but I was out in the North Lodge Cottage garden this morning picking blooms to show you. Unfortunately, the weather here is absolutely foul. It has rained virtually solid for the last 3 to coming on to 4 days, and it's spoiling an awful lot of the blooms. So I'm bringing them in to show you rather than having the opportunity to show you them growing in the garden. This particular rose is in a shelter spot in the garden, and I wanted to bring it to you because she looks so good this morning, and just explain a few of her characteristics. Just like me, if you have the space for something that's not going to work massively hard for you. This rose is Eglantine. Bred and introduced by David Austin Roses in 1994. Its habit and form is very much like Darcy Bustle. Its health and vigour is very much like Charlotte. Both roses bred at a very similar time. It is a particularly beautiful rose. It is the softest of peachy pinks, really delicate flower, and it opens. This is not the best. This is not the best bloom, obviously, because it's raining. But it's a lovely saucer-shaped flower which opens virtually completely flat. You can see these outer petals are much longer and much larger than these inner petals, so you get this lovely flat dome to the flower. So those petals go right the way back past the 180 point, and then you get this lovely flat rose, which is unbelievably really good on the scent. Even on a wet day today, I've just picked this and it's absolutely sopping wet, as you can see from the leaves. It has a really lovely old rose fragrance, really very strong, very heavy and incredibly romantic. Unfortunately, the shrub itself is plagued by the other things that get Darcy Bustle and Charlotte. It is not particularly vigorous, it doesn't enjoy particularly many blooms, and it doesn't repeat particularly well. It has very distinctively 2 flushes of flowers. One very normally early on in the season in early June. It's obviously a little bit late this year because it's been fairly cold, and I'll be lucky to have maybe a dozen, maybe 20 blooms off the plant, and it will then have a complete break, probably drop every single leaf on the plant, look really ill for several weeks, and then resurrect herself with a few new spurs of flowers somewhere in the region of late July, early August. It reaches 4 feet. It's fairly gangly and fairly sparse on its habit. David Austin say this is a nice dome-shaped plant, but I've never, even in direct sunlight. This particular one has been planted in several different locations at the last house and here, and it seems to do better in a shadier spot where it doesn't quite get so much stress. Obviously, you need to make sure that that's not dry shade, and you need to make sure that it's kept well watered during the growing season. But Eglantine, if you do have the space, is one of the ones that has absolutely stunning old English fragrance to it, and a translucent colour which is absolutely extraordinary. I'm hoping that's picking up in this light. The most beautiful of soft peach, pinky colours, really very attractive, but it's not particularly good on the repeat. It's not particularly good for health, and it reaches around 4.5 feet. But this is Eglantine from David Austin Roses, and if you have the space like me, it may be worth having a look at.